1 more minute.
She was whether Bruce and died yet or not.
It was
No, he
very.
had been gone.
Yeah. They're taking like rest.
Oh, it was like, what a relief that was.
Yeah, well, she kind of like off the ball. Okay, it's 7 o'clock, and we will bring the regular township zoning commission meeting to order. May I have a roll call?
Ron Jones. Tom Johnson.
Here.
David Rose.
Here,
Tom Sargent.
Here.
Patrick Blair.
Here.
Seth Halen.
Here.
Scott Wilson.
Okay. May I have a motion to accept the agenda?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I say nay?
Yes. Won't do you any good. Do we have any minutes that we need approved or you
Yeah.
got those?
September's.
Yeah,
September.
September.
You probably you were here at 6 and
Okay.
you didn't get to see them.
Has everybody had a chance to go over them then?
They were emailed out?
Yeah. You don't have your iPad yet.
Yeah.
Well, it should be there.
It is.
Oh,
Okay. All right.
you can have Ron read it. He hasn't seen it.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve September's minutes.
I'll abstain from voting.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor signify, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, it appears that we have a few things on the agenda tonight, starting with Town Center Historical District discussing. What do you have, Mike?
So, I don't know if everybody's aware of it, but you guys sent this over to the trustees for the historic district. Todd Peets put the presentation there, is what they did with the storybook telling there, and the trustees approved it, so they're getting started. And I think it was not to exceed $20,000. So the architecture students from Kent State will be working predominantly on it. And then, of course, with Todd and Gail. So.
I would like to have him get on board and get in touch with Darlene Mettler, who is the president of the,
So I believe she was at the meeting.
huh?
I believe she was at the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then she's going to be giving a lot of information as well. So if anybody has information to add to any of the historic stuff, please reach out to us and we'll put you in touch with Todd. And we'd like to sit down with you and hear it all.
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff in storage up there.
It'd be
too.
good to know.
So, you know, or Christie, you know, would be another good one. She's doing all the work, security workforce right now. So, all right. $20,000.
Not to exceed, right?
Yeah. Okay. The next is a text amendment change, accessory buildings, 200 square feet. And we're going to eliminate 51003. Is that it?
A9C.
Yeah.
So basically with this one, this is as a result, we actually had a BZA case that brought this to light because if you have a shed that's under 200 square foot, it doesn't require a zoning certificate or a building permit. But yet, people don't know that. They call and say, do I need a permit for a shed under 200 square foot? And before you could even explain the whole code, they're like, okay, thanks, click, I don't need one. So they have to be 5 foot. We changed it. It used to be 15, but they have to be 5 foot from the property lines. Well, we had a BZA case where there was one that actually at 2.5 feet because a survey was done and he was not granted the variance, and now we have a lawsuit against that. But long story short, it brought up the whole point. There's a gentleman here at the last zoning commission meeting who brought this up, and we've seen several sheds that are under 200 square foot right up to the property lines. I mean, there's really no enforcement way of me being able to go out there unless, people plop sheds, and then I call them a year after the fact and I find out that, a neighbor complained. I would say if it's not permitted, there's no way of me being able to enforce it. I don't have a right to go on the property and start measuring it because I'd be trespassing.
Right.
So I think that if we don't permit the sheds under 200 square foot, then we just eliminate that and make sure that it goes into the side or rear of the property only. And then don't give a distance. As long as they're on their property line, that's their problem, So
So
the bigger sheds, we would still keep 5 foot, but the small sheds, I would say could go anywhere on the side and rear is what I would like to propose.
the 200 and under.
200 square foot and under, yeah. Because building code in the state of Ohio, adopts the building code and Ohio revised code. We're not required, they don't have to get permits for anything under 200.
Right.
So it's like unenforceable from my standpoint.
I thought it was 144 square feet.
That was years ago.
Yeah.
That changed, I believe, in 2007.
Okay, because when I put my shed up, it was 144, did he?
It used to be a 12 by 12.
From count.
Yeah.
You have to move it now, Tom.
Pardon me?
You have to move it now.
Yeah, no, mine's 15 feet off.
Up, tear it down.
Yeah.
Will that affect the guy that, if we put this in play, how does that affect that?
It's null and void. There's no lawsuit. It just goes away.
Well, I went out, I was called by one of his neighbors who was a township trustee at one time. And I stopped over. And he took me down the site and showed me the property. It's a pretty good sized shed. He is 2.5 feet off property line. The issue that I see by examining is that we now have higher density, and we have smaller and smaller lot sizes that have been granted. And with that, you now someone collecting a lot of stuff, is going to need some outbuildings. And when you have a small lot like that, it's very difficult to find room to position it in these square lots that are being developed around home developments and so forth that we have throughout the township.
It's already, is what, 25% of the lot for, that you could use for sheds? If I remember right.
Well, you could pretty much go as big as you want. It's mostly height restrictions now. So it's, 18 foot to the eave, the center of the eave. And then, there is a section in the code that does have that lot coverage, but I don't think anybody's even come remotely close to that.
So this one that we're referring to, where, is that gonna just have to go through the courts now, or is it just?
No, I mean, I think they just filed it. They knew this was coming up. Chad Murdoch actually was looking into it. And I believe he filed just to, put it out there because there's a timeline. Since the BZA turns it down, it's 30 days, after the minutes are approved that they have that right to appeal to the court. So we had to hurry up and do something because our meeting was beyond the 30 days.
Right.
But in case that we don't go forward with this, then he could go forward and challenge that opinion. I don't know where that would ever go, but regardless of that, that doesn't worry me at all. I'm not concerned with his particular case. I mean, it is what it is. But what concerns me is you go to the same subdivision, and I found 6 more just by driving around the street.
Yeah.
And I'm like, great, this is opening up Pandora. And how do I enforce this? Because if the neighbors don't care next door and they're not on somebody else's property with the shed, do you really care? It's like,
Yeah, the only
It's his
requirements
property.
they had in that development, in Chapman development, was they had to be the same design and same colors as the house.
Yeah.
Now, this particular one that we're referring to has been there for what, 2.5 years?
Yeah, and he didn't know. He didn't know that there was a restriction
No,
on that.
no.
And how would you know if there's no permit?
Right.
People just don't.
Right.
So,
Yeah, well, I know he told me that he'd asked about a permit, was told he didn't need a permit for anything.
yeah, that's pretty common, yeah.
I don't think he ever thought about, it being defined with a 5-foot part.
Right.
So is there,
It's a nice looking, I told him to put a fence on the line.
Well,
Nice
yeah,
fence.
we had the problem over on 40, off of 43, Lewis developments and south on 43.
Beach Crest?
Yeah, Duffield is back in there. Those homes are pretty close together and lots are pretty small. And they've been here for 40 or 50 years. And you're seeing similar type of problems there. So it's not for the new homes, but even the older ones that have been established for a period of time. So you're suggesting that we just eliminate that, and then that would allow a shed or some sort of outbuilding to be placed right up to the property line?
Yeah, it could be. But I would restrict it only to side and rear. I wouldn't want it in the front yards. You wouldn't want shed.
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, some of the sheds are showing up there, so,
Yeah, well, we allow up to 6-foot fences to be right on the property,
Correct.
right on the property line, so.
but the setback for the shed was in case they caught fire and catch another one on fire.
Well, there's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's part of the discussion that we had when we went from 15 to 5.
Yeah,
There's still a section of the code that there's a minimum distance between sheds. So even if one put it on the proper line, it would kind of bump the other one a little bit. But I think there's still, if I'm not mistaken, a 5-foot separation between the two.
gosh, that was,
Well-
it's potential for neighbors to argue.
Yeah.
But I guess the question I got is like, and this probably doesn't apply to us, but I wonder what insurance says. Because we talked about this with the swimming pool years ago,
Yeah,
with the size of the fence, and like, what's the insurance required? We're requiring more than the insurance says.
well, you was on board when we did that, all that, what was the lady's name?
Thank you. Betty, would you? No.
No,
Oh, they used to be on the board.
the lady that was on the board,
Yeah, she
Oh,
the insurance thing.
Terry,
Terry. Yeah, so if, I would imagine like, if you have an HOA, they probably have some rules.
Yeah, and that's fine, if the HOAs want to enforce it, but we can't overstep. We
No,
can't
I agree with that. I'm just saying it's like, the only thing you could say is like, hey, it's just like when you buy, sheds. We had talked about one time, like when we was, and said, hey, could you just improve the zoning? Because people buy and don't even think about it, just put it. So they should check with their insurance. That's something.
And the building code kicks in too, I know, even if it's on your same lot, and you're putting them closer than 5 foot together, then they have you drywall the inside of that wall that faces, so give you some kind of fire protection.
But these sheds aren't supposed to have that, I think, right?
No.
Just a shed.
No, they're just, yeah. I mean, then the other, a regular shed over 200 square foot, things kick in with foundations and, with electrical, if you pull permits on both of them, so. I mean, we have some sheds, and Pat, this, we have some with bathrooms and running water, but you have to go, the building department comes in, they do their inspections as well as I do, and,
That's a small fire cost.
yeah, some of them are. I mean, some of them are
Tiny
really,
houses are.
yeah, some are really, really.
Well, there have been garages over there that were built without permits, so it wasn't built with permits,
Yeah. But I'd like to at least have you guys send it off to, or at least ask you for, regional planning's thought on it and bring it back to here and then.
Okay.
Well, it just makes sense if you can't enforce it, why do we have it? I mean,
It's another unenforceable thing in the code.
At that point, in my mind, at that point, it's a civil issue between the two property owners.
Yep. That's where I would,
And it cuts us out of the loop.
I agree.
Well, like I said, that particular incident, the building has been there for 2 or 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And the one gentleman, had no problems with it when he put it in.
Well, that issue had nothing to do with setbacks or anything. It's just that's what they landed on to argue about.
Well,
It could be true, yeah.
the whole thing started was a neighborhood disagreement,
Right.
Yeah.
so.
I make a motion to send the text change of section 51.0.0389C to regional planning for feedback.
I second that motion.
All those in favor signify, please.
Aye.
That's the thing.
Okay, that's approved.
No word.
Okay, we're going to go to above ground pools now. So currently it's 4 feet, around the pool or around the property line.
Right. The way we have it worded is a little bit confusing. So the question that comes into play and what we have is if the pool is 4 foot high and you have a 4 foot high pool, and Seth, you just dealt with it. We have a 4 foot high pool wall. And then I say, well, you have to have a 4 foot fence minimum. If they could jump a 4 foot fence, they could, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So I would like the wall of the pool to be considered the fence too. So if you have a 4 foot high above ground pool, then it would take the requirement of the fencing away because that would be considered the wall around the pool.
And I've seen,
Am I confused? I thought that's the way it was. And then
It's just a little
you had a
bit,
set of stairs and then have a gate, a walking gate.
well, that's what we want, but it's missing the section of adding the wall of the pool. It says walls, but it doesn't say wall of the pool. So that technicality could be challenged and then I've got to make you put a fence anyway, which is a big expense. If you have a pool that's only 36 inches in height, you're going to need 4 foot because that's what it says. Or if you have an in-ground pool, you need a fence. It's just common sense, but.
One of the things, what defines a swimming pool? Because would a wading pool be a swimming pool?
We have that in the definitions.
So it was.
I think that's
They had a pump and filter.
Okay.
And what was brought up, I can't remember what year it was, Nick was still on the zoning board. And you could go to Walmart and basically for $200 buy one of these pools and have a pump and a filter.
Right.
Yes.
An inflatable pool. And the reality became like, at that time it was a 6 foot fence. You're not gonna get somebody even spend money to put a 4 foot fence up when they've only spent $200 on the pool.
Right.
And then that led into, well, what does insurance require? They require a 4 foot fence, and we lowered the fence from 6 to 4. And that's actually where it all works.
Yeah, so section 4 talks about the pool size.
What page is it?
151. So it's literally the next line after the wall.
And I have a definition here, swimming pool private, which would be at home. An in-ground or above-ground structure, chamber or tank containing a body of water for swimming, diving, or wading. Exclude portable pools with the diameter less than 12 feet or with an area less than 100 square feet and not more than 2.5 feet. So that would be excluded.
Yeah.
But then, it's just a cross. But if you have a 4 foot, I think we should
I'm starting to see more and more of those going in without fences around, just people putting them in their backyards,
Probably. Yeah,
They're not bothering us.
no, I mean, we catch them sooner or later, but it just,
Yeah, is that one running
Summer's
around on
almost over.
Sunday?
yeah.
My bowling buddy delivers pool water, and he's is on board with your definition of above ground pool. It does have a wall.
Yeah.
And most communities in Northeast Ohio that he delivers to have that language. Fence is not necessary above ground pool when it's for 48 acres or something like that. Right.
And I'd just like to send that to regional and get that clarified.
Yeah.
That's all.
I'll make a motion to send the above ground pool fence 510.1083 at wall pool 48 inches or 4 feet for consideration for the regional zone.
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify.
Aye.
Motion's carried.
So your buddy that delivers water, sure is not delivering water, inflatable pools and things like that.
Oh, yeah, some people, they have a well, and they don't want to tap their well, or,
Oh, you go in.
Well, some of those inflatables, they're 36
The
inches
above ground
high, so
inflatable.
it's, you
Yeah.
can get a good bit of water.
Big deposit, they don't steep
Yeah.
off, you know.
Jeez.
And, they're 4 foot,
Yeah.
12, 14 feet diameter.
Yeah, they break the box open and get it delivered.
Yeah.
So I want to put them, get it done by noon, and use it at 4.
You get those for $400 or $500 and instead of paying $5,000.
Like that movie thing, that's what he was like.
Well, I know, the other thing I remember is when we were talking about this,
Doesn't let that kind of include
fire
fires
that
and gates.
pulled down,
To the
it
steps.
was coming down at a certain
That's the
time.
same thing, for like those 54 inch.
Yeah.
And that, I
That's
mean,
where
was
it's
all
all,
that.
that's over 48.
So if you remember, the whole thing
Yes.
started, the whole
Yeah,
conversation,
use that for- That's what it's like, I read through it. This
some
stuff.
kid
Yeah.
got in through the people's office, and jumped in and drowned in it. So that's what started the whole conversation.
Yeah.
Because it was never about what you do. So, okay, let's go to next, temporary use permit.
So-
Section 540.
So as you're aware, we talked about this last meeting, and we sent off Todd to get some language for us, but we ended up getting it about 3:30, 4 o'clock today. We did get a copy of Rootstown Township zoning resolution, which I'm a little confused on. I mean, I didn't have a whole lot of time to look into it. It doesn't sound like something we would be interested in. They have one, they're temporary, this is right in Rootstown. A person who opens a temporary place of business for sale of goods or services shall be permitted not to exceed 4 consecutive days or 96 hours per calendar year. And I don't think we want to go that strict. So, and then they said the registration is valid for 90 days. And I don't know. But he did give us some links to Boardman Township, Painesville Township,
Yeah, I'm looking at Boardman's.
and a couple other areas that I think, I mean, obviously this was given to us as a directive from the trustee level. And, we'll look into this. Right now, the way it works, and we have somebody here that is an applicant that has a business, doing, we have it as a 6-month permit. And that's what it is. It's valid for 6 months, it expires 6 months, and then they renew it after 6 months. They want some guidelines on temporary, because they don't want a permanent establishment, is what they said. So we gave that directive to Todd, and then he's got several options for you to look into, and however you want to look into that or give us your feedback. I think we're going to need a little bit of time, to research these cities and these codes. So, and see what's out there.
So what do you want to do, send this to,
Well, I remember our discussion that we had years ago on this issue about that guy? A friend of mine had Pat's Tattoo Parlor, is in a trailer. He was pulling it around different places.
I thought that was you, but yeah.
Well, it was. But, yeah, I think that's, we were trying to prevent that from happening, is where it certainly came from.
Well, I think when it was brought to us, and I think probably everybody here will agree, we were all under the impression that it was going to be just a temporary thing, but supposedly he owned the properties next door and was thinking about moving to one of those or something.
Yeah.
So
We're gonna tear down those buildings eventually, but when we spoke about that originally, we came to the conclusion that it wasn't to stop people from doing businesses. You were worried about a bunch of people doing what I do in the town. And
Well, yeah, just like I said with the tattoo trailer pulling in, they could whip it into a parking lot.
we're worried about a bunch of them coming in and
Yeah.
setting up and just, making it look, flooding the place with a bunch of little random fly-by-night businesses. That's not what's happening. There's less than we talked about before. So I'm the only one.
Yeah,
There's no other ones.
thing is,
So I'm not sure what like brought this up. Seemed like kind of an odd thing to me. We just
Actually,
had to-
we had, there was complaints, and there was, I believe there was 2 complaints at the one of the trustee meetings brought it up to the trustees. It was 2.
Do you remember what they were for? Like, what did they complain about?
It was more of a permanent business than a temporary use.
Okay. I mean, I don't know what just because I set up in the same place, it's still, I guess it would be what defines temporary and permanent.
Well, that's what we're looking into. We gave this this board gave this to regional planning to give them some ideas. And
Right.
we're starting, like, this is preliminary, and it's good you're here because you can help us through this, because we're not experts by any means in the temporary use, but that's why we're looking into and exploring to find out what the other communities are doing. Some of them are extremely strict, like this one, Rootstown next door I've never heard of it that strict. But we do have, Independence has a lot of temporary vendors as well, and I know that. And there's some cities that actually have actual roads that they dedicate in one area for temporary use vendors to go into, and then you could go in and you pull your permit, and it really doesn't matter how long you're there, as long as you're paying the permits. But those are kind of nice because they have electrical hookup and bathrooms and everything else, already set up for them. But wherever you guys go with this is a start, so.
yeah, it's been, how long have you been there? 3 years?
I think we started the end of 2018.
When?
The end of 2018, and we've done that different stuff. That's my.
So, that's a little bit long for temporary.
So that's what I'm getting at. What's the?
Are you going to be tearing that building down and
Yeah,
doing
I
something?
surveyed, I had the asbestos that company up there today, actually.
So what are you looking at, a year or 2 or?
Less than that, we're hoping to demo it this winter, or like soon, within a couple months, and then build something in the spring. But I'm not necessarily just worried about like my thing. I'm not worried about that. I'm trying to figure out why, like, just because it's a food truck, if you give like an avenue to make it a like permanent business, that's fine. But why are you trying to single out this specific kind of business? And from what I'm hearing, it sounds like you're trying to like, get rid of it. That seems kind of weird to me.
Well, I don't know where you're hearing that from.
So
The issue was that we had several complaints from people in the township complaining that the one specifically I know of was you're building the $8 million fire station, and across the street you got a guy selling out of a trailer.
Right.
That was the one complaint.
Okay.
And that individual comes to township meetings. This issue that we're talking about, the temporary versus permanent food structure, is something that we've looked at before in detail. And I don't want to speak for the board here as a whole, but you know, a lot of people appreciate what you do over there and we like it.
Like your food.
Yeah, they do.
So we're not adversarial here at all, but in the global context, we'd like to make sure Pat's tattoo parlor doesn't come rolling in, setting up at the Speedway gas station.
We talked about before.
Right.
We put or you guys put the licensing thing into place at that.
Yeah.
And it seems to
I think you were here back then when we talked about it.
I was here about someone talking about that. But yeah, you have it limited to where I think it's you can have one like temporary business per property or something like that.
Yeah,
Six
that's something
month
like that.
license thing. I mean, it seems to solve the problem. I'm the only temporary thing in Brimfield. I'm pretty sure. I don't think there's.
Yeah, I don't think, well, no, we have two or three that come, there's one that goes to Lowe's. There's
Two
a
that go to Lowe's, there's a couple that go to.
Menards.
Menards.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that.
There's another van, trailer
Right.
business.
They sell food up there.
Where,
Yeah, they also do barbecue.
But the building is back.
you're talking about my building?
Yes.
So that's the smoker trailer and the one to sell it. So the one by the road is just a big smoker.
Oh, it's a smoke, okay, so there, yeah, all right.
So that's what that is.
So now we have two,
You have one business, one.
we have one business with two trailers.
I just think it's gone past the point of being a temporary business.
That's what
Okay.
that's what we're struggling with.
Yeah, when we looked at this before, it was.
If you move it into
Here,
your,
what your plan was, facilities and stuff like that, and then code the end, like all this stuff out.
Right. So what is I guess I'm not really familiar with, what's the difference between a temporary business and a permanent business, I guess, in this context? Like, what would change?
well, it'd be a business with a foundation and
Right, so you want to build.
and for
Yes.
a building.
Right, so that's specifically targeting food trucks. We're making that.
Well, now, we allow food trucks to come into the community on a temporary basis.
Right,
What we're struggling with is what defines temporary? Because under the current system that we have, temporary is transitioned into indefinite.
right.
And what we're struggling with is how to define the word temporary. So how many permits are we going to allow an individual to draw?
Right.
Because if we don't put a time limit on it, that individual can draw multiple permits and basically profess that they're temporary indefinitely.
So.
And we're also looking at the idea of if individuals change into a different LLC.
Mhm.
So if one day you're this LLC, the next week you're, and then you begin drawing permits every 45 days under a different LLC, then it kind of defeats the purpose of the temporary permit.
Right.
So that's what we're struggling with, is how do we define temporary, and how many permits are we gonna allow an individual to draw before we now classify them as
Permanent.
exceeding temporary?
Right. So the effect of that law is that it bars people like me from doing what I want to do. Why does it matter if it's a food truck or a business?
It doesn't matter, the way it's worded in our code doesn't matter.
Now it doesn't, but effectively.
No, and right now, the way we have it for temporary vendors, it doesn't specify food or tattoo.
Okay.
It doesn't matter, yeah. The biggest thing, what you gotta look at, and we don't wanna be, I certainly don't want the township to take on something that hasn't been proven. So whatever codes we're looking at, and that's why I'm steering us more towards the city of Independence. I know it's been tested. I know their code's been challenged before and it's upheld in the court. So I would steer us more towards something that's more proven in how it works and how they do it. And I think we need time at that. I don't think it's something that we jump at right away. And because our code is pretty strong right now.
Mhm.
It's just the timelines and the concern of what is the temporary use. And I think we should explore it a little bit.
So do you want to send this over to regional and get some?
Well, we're still working. We sent it over to regional just for some ideas, but we really didn't get, we got those at 3:30 or 4 o'clock today. So
Yeah.
nobody's really digested or even read into
Yeah, there
these.
wasn't much
So,
time to review.
Right.
The one that I have printed out that they sent printed, I mean, obviously you guys are the board to decide, but I'm not in favor of that one. I think, 4 consecutive days in a calendar year is a little.
So Mike, question,
Affirmative, independence.
I'll get it.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, yeah, and I know it's proven up there. You know, I've seen them up there. I know it's.
In our code, I'll let you answer the question. In our code, what's the difference between a temporary sign and a permanent sign?
The amount of days.
The what?
Amount of days. So a temporary sign is only valid, I believe, off the top of my head, 120 days.
Doesn't
I think
Ohio
120
revised
days.
code state that a temporary sign has wheels on it and is mobile?
A temporary sign that is mobile with wheels
Yeah.
isn't even in the code.
Yeah, I seem to remember that.
If it's attached to a vehicle,
No,
then no, but if it's detached and you could put it in like one of those, then yes, it's a temporary sign. Yep.
So maybe that's something that we should.
We could follow that. That's a good point, Pat.
Yeah,
We could follow,
because it is in the Ohio code already.
it is.
And we had people take the wheels off and put it on blocks.
I do remember that years ago.
You understand?
I do remember that. The lighted signs that were on the wheels that they took, I remember those, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
So you said the complaint was because it was, someone's cooking out of a trailer next to an $8 million fire station?
No, I didn't say that. I said what the person complained about
Right, that's what.
was an $8 million building and, you know, a temporary thing. But I'm gonna tell you, let me respond the rest of the way. I'm sure the guy's never eaten at your restaurant.
Right.
As a matter of fact, my chiropractor, I was there tonight earlier, he lives over in North Canton. And he works in South Akron, and him and his kid come over to your place.
Oh, yeah. We
That's
get
a
a
ritual.
draw. Yeah, it's definitely a draw.
I think it's
People
a
come from all
community,
over.
it's a community draw. What we need to do is try to tighten up what we have
Right.
So,
and make it workable for everybody. That's all we're doing.
So.
And
And
I would imagine it's gonna be.
And it might not
Don't
be.
you guys under- like-
It could end up being, because I've seen codes, I mean, just in the hour that I looked at this prior to the meeting, there's codes that you could have it for the full length of the permit, but then you have to move locations every 30 days.
Right.
But you could stay in the township and move and still sell out, but you'd have to be in different spots every 30 days. So there's a lot of options.
Right. So from my perspective, my problem is I don't see the problem. It's just, the problem is that there's a food truck that sets up at the same place. In my idea, that's like a good thing. You have a stable business. It's not some fly-by-night guy who comes in, sets up at Lowe's for a day and then leaves.
Mhm.
That's not, I don't see why you want that in the community versus versus a business that contributes to the community and brings people to the same place.
I mean, that's a valid point.
The only,
But
the difference is that I can't move. Like, that doesn't,
What-
my business wouldn't have been possible to start if it wasn't a food truck.
When you first came in, so back in 2018, when you came in, I think I made a comment to you, it's because of you that we're actually looking at this.
Right.
Because we said, okay, you got one, you don't want to have 15 lined up and
Right.
stuff like that. And if you don't have a zoning rule, then you can't enforce anything.
Right.
We're kind of at the same place
Right.
again, but the circumstances are a little different. So back then, it was, you had plans to move into a brick and mortar, and I think the mentality was, okay, you know,
Right.
let's accommodate and make this work. And we know that it's not gonna be forever.
Right.
Because I don't think anybody wants to see, temporary buildings. If you have other businesses that come in and, you know, are putting the investment into a brick and mortar, and then they look at you and go, well, why should I do this? I just set up another.
It should ask me, I can't do much luxury reasons. There's a reason I'm
Well,
going
no, I
to.
understand that, but it's the view that people look at, so.
Maybe those people, but that's not everyone.
Yeah, but, so, you know, it's really broad spectrum for everybody that's looking at it.
Right. So from
It's
my
not that
perspective, we had that discussion back in 2018 or whatever. I really tried to work with you guys to like set that up in the right way. And now it seems like it's just going the next step. And then from that, it could go another step. Like,
Well, wait a minute. I object to that. You're accusing us of something that we haven't even done. Yes, you have. You said it was. You said that it's going in another direction. We haven't changed direction at all. We're looking at refining what we have, and we want your input.
Absolutely.
So-
I'm here for the input. But this is more. This isn't the same thing.
We haven't even started. This is our first discussion.
Okay,
So we haven't changed direction yet.
right.
Don't be
I'm not trying to be-
accusatory.
I'm not trying to be adversarial with you guys. I know that's how, I know that might be how it works. That's not the idea. I'm trying to get, I basically don't want to be bothered with what I'm doing, but I don't want to bother you guys or cause problems for anyone else.
Well, let's get down the road a little bit here.
Well, I don't know how fast this stuff moves. I don't come to.
Well, this is government, so it moves slow.
This is a, so if, once they make a decision, this board, they would send it off to regional planning officially. But what they did is they reached out to regional planning because they were tasked with this duty. So it starts at the trustee level for a text amendment change in here. So they initiated the amendment, it gets challenged to this commission. This commission can take as long as they want and trying to come up with some kind of answer or solution. And then once they do, they vote on it to send it to regional. Regional Planning Commission takes it, gives it to the prosecutor's office, and then obviously engineering, building, all of them. And they vote on it, and they decide, is this the best interest of the county or township? Then it comes back to this board
It'll be spring.
to vote on it. You have a public hearing, and then before that, they vote on it. Then if they approve it here, then it goes to the trustee level.
Right.
Then it has a public hearing. And so this whole process could take at
Spring.
fast speed, maybe 3-4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, lightning speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, lightning speed, 3 or 4 months. And if you know, we're even gonna start looking at it yet, we're probably a good 5-6 months down the road.
So when are the input sessions? It seems like there are a lot.
Oh, we're doing this, it would be every meeting now for the next 6 months, we're gonna be discussing different scenarios. I mean, this is the initial start where, what are the other townships doing? What are the other cities doing? And then, you know, it could end up in a whole nother idea like that. Like I was reading tonight, cities have a whole street put in and they have electrical and plumbing, they have the whole 9 yards, and then any.
We had that, so.
And so we'll work on stuff. We may work on it for 4 months and it gets to the trustees and they say, nope, and send it back.
Okay.
I mean, that's another
Okay,
scenario.
so let's start over. So in trying to figure this out, what is the problem to solve? Just that, are you trying to prevent people from setting up food trucks in the same spot for?
It's not even food trucks, just
for
general
mobile
business.
Yeah.
Just
General temporary vendors, they want, if it's gonna be labeled as temporary, what is temporary? What does temporary look like? And then how much time are you allowing? Are you allowing a full year and continue? Or are you doing a 6-month permit and a 6-month renewal? Or is it like so many days within 6 months?
Right.
And then we're exploring all the options. And then I'm tasked to get all this with regional and then give it to the board and then let them decide.
The example, I'm looking, you brought up independence. So I pulled up independence definition first of what a food truck is. And I don't even, from reading this, let me ask you a question if you fit within this. And they define what a food truck is. A food truck means a vehicle or vehicle with a trailer propelled by an engine, which has a specific designation or used for mobile food vending.
That would be me unless they have a
Yeah,
separate definition
yeah,
for a
engine,
food trailer.
and-
Unless they have a separate definition for a food trailer.
Well,
Usually classified as mobile.
my belief in what a food trailer is, and I visited food trailers, it's like a big van.
Yeah.
And they're mobile, and they're here today, gone to the next one, or the next site. We use them for graduation parties, special events and so forth.
Some of them are trailers and some.
Right, they can, but they're attached to a motor vehicle and they're mobile. You kind of aren't mobile.
It's 100% mobile. like-
Well, when I said, let me define, mobile means you move it daily. And, or anything like that, because a mobile food truck, to me, is something that can be moved relatively on, it drives in, it sets up, and drives away.
Okay.
In that sense. So I don't know if I would even use the language. And tell me why you would fit under a food truck rather than a food
That's
trailer.
like, they're basically used as the same. The technical thing from like the health department is a mobile, like, I think it's a mobile food vendor. It could be trailers, it could be trucks, it could be a tent setup.
So-
it could be anything.
I want to get the language corrected.
Right.
You would be more of a mobile food vendor.
I would call it, so it depends on how you're looking at it. I am a food trader. A lot of people just call it a food truck. The technical stuff and the health department stuff would be a mobile food vendor.
Okay.
So I'm licensed, it's called a mobile food license. That's the same license for all three vehicles.
Yeah, they don't care what the vehicle is.
Yeah. It's just a truck, you can move.
But in this definition, they define what a food, quote, truck, and they don't use the language as a food, mobile food vendor.
I would
So,
absolutely.
And that's at the Independence Codified Ordinance, chapter 798, food trucks is what they define it.
Well, let's get some input from regional then, right?
Yeah, let's try to get a definition of what we're looking at.
Yeah.
We're gonna need several definitions
Yeah,
too,
I
I
don't
think.
know what a mobile food truck is versus a mobile food vendor.
Mobile
Or
food
is it a
license.
mobile food vendor, the truck is a tool?
Or or do we have our own definition of code for temporary use members?
Right.
Yeah,
I
I
thought
mean,
you
it
had
covers
more
food
worried about
and
temporary use,
anything.
not-
This is a complex issue in this process. We're gonna have.
It's not something easy, and if you're looking to, keep in mind, if you're looking to demo on there too, let's say you're because you mentioned you might demo this year. If we issue a demo permit, that's valid for a year. If you're gonna start that process and you go to the Board of Zoning Appeals, which is a separate board, they have a right to permit you to even, besides this board, say, okay, you're under construction and we're giving you, as part of the conditional use, we'll allow you to have the temporary use until your building's up and running to make sure you have the money to build it. And they have that right to do that. So I don't know how much, with you demolishing the building, I don't know if it affects your business at all, with the timelines granted. But yeah, we have to look forward to not just you, but everybody that comes in, because like Big D's is here too.
Are
And
you
I know
taking
he
both
wants,
buildings
he
down?
would like to set up more. And then there's, we have the donut one, the coffee one, and yeah, there's a donut one. That one's at Menards.
Yeah.
Menards.
Yeah, so like I was saying, it's not all about mine, like, I really don't wanna, do this and then close the door behind me, because my business would never exist, there would never be an opportunity for it to be in a building if I wasn't able to start and be consistent at a small, like, more affordable level.
Yeah.
That's like, there's a huge barrier to entry to, like, restaurant stuff, especially if you wanna, like, build one out to rent a space, which I don't know if there are any rental spaces in Brimfield. But it's such a good way to build, like, or for a community to build, like, local businesses.
Mhm.
I think I started mine for like, all in, I was like $1,300 in 2017. That's, the food was good, I wouldn't have been able to, run a building, that's 1 month's rent of a cheap lease. Or it wouldn't happen. So, I really don't wanna, quit making it impossible to do what I did for other people. Especially when it's not.
You'd almost have to borrow the money just to stay afloat.
Yeah, and restaurants, good luck with that. Restaurants have a really bad failure rate to begin with.
Well, and then just the whole, trying to get people to work there too, so.
Right.
Okay, let's send this to regional then. Do you need a motion?
Yes.
May I?
I'm kind of confused here.
You want to send it to regional for, as a question to get more cities, I guess, and more than what they submitted to us is probably what he's looking at getting.
Yeah.
More wording.
I'm gonna call it a motion.
I don't think we need a motion.
You could do the request at regional, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we need a motion to ask them for more information. Do we?
If you want to, it's fine. It makes it official.
They've already looked at
Yeah,
it
yeah.
once already.
I mean, they're getting us some information.
Like a little more thorough.
I think a little bit more thorough would be nice, and something that's more relevant.
A little more information regarding.
Keep Todd busy.
Yeah.
Versus food truck.
And that's fine.
This guy's not agreeing.
If he wants to do it at emotion level, and it gets recorded in the minutes as well, I think it's fine. Yeah.
He did. I watched that.
So who's doing it?
Who wants to make a motion?
Well, Tom, why don't you make the motion? You've been doing it all
I
the
haven't made
time.
one all night, have I?
No, make the motion.
I'll make a motion that we revisit this issue over to the regional planning.
I canceled Tom making that motion.
In regards to more specific information.
Okay.
Regarding definitions and possibly use of the word temporary specifically.
Second, please.
I'll second that.
And I think it's a great idea that you're doing it. I mean, that'd be great.
All those in
Getting
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's, like I said,
I know there were some instances that occurred that you guys were tied up in, so
oh yeah, I know that for a while.
that set you back for quite some time.
Is that so?
Yeah.
So Mike, how did the trailers over at the drive-through, how, were they, their licenses, how did they?
They were getting them. I think his name's Mo still over
Well,
there.
yeah,
There's nothing over there now, but he was charging rent
Right.
for the trailer, and I think it was, I don't want to say it on camera, but it was pretty costly. So I don't know if he was recouping his cost on renting that trailer out, so.
so were they considered like a food vendor, or were they
Temporary use vendors.
temporary?
Yeah, and they were getting permits too. We stopped them all, and there was the latest one, wasn't a trailer at all, but it was a temporary use and sales. There was a barbecue, or no, was he barbecue?
Which
At the outpost.
Yeah, that's right.
It was, but he set up a tent, and then he was selling underneath the tent.
Oh, Mike has met at the
Yeah,
outpost?
at the outpost. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not, we've got to make it fair for everybody, but, you got to keep in mind that there's more and more coming, and setting up, and well, how is that going to look, and how do you want it to look, and do you want it in specific zoning districts too? I mean, that's another thing that I see in some of these codes, that it's not exclusive to industrial or heavy industrial, it's more into where the restaurants are.
I can see some of these, like they're being variables. If it's like going out to Lowe's and setting up like an hours, well, that's usually only there for a day, or maybe a couple of days or something like that. They can set that up.
I think I just
If you want to do that.
the Summit County Public Health Department has a pretty complete mobile food license requirement and so forth. And
They have multiple, is that?
No, they have a pretty comprehensive Summit County public order.
Oh, yeah, last Brimfest we had up at the old fire station, they shut a guy down because it was D's.
Yeah.
Double D, they shut him down because his water wasn't hot enough.
Right, so it seems they do a lot of definition and so forth.
They're pretty tough, aren't they?
Well, the Lions Club, they shut them down.
Who?
The Lions Club, their food truck, the health department shut them down. for a
Well, we
while.
have our own list. We have a complete list of what we have here, but prior to that, he has to submit his license from the department, or anybody. They have to supply us their license that they were approved by the Board of Health, as well as fire department. And fire department has a whole separate list compared to the health department. But I don't think our list is bad at all. I think our requirements are pretty good. It's just that, we ask for bathroom facilities and,
They
We're gonna park where you
gotta
can't park.
carry all the detail except for if we decide like marijuana in this district or this district.
you could do zoning districts, you could do times, you could do, and it's entirely up to you guys, this board, so, where you want to proceed with that, but, something reasonable, I would look into, what other people are doing.
So let me ask you this, I'm reading this and I'm getting some information. So you would say that the one unit would be a mobile cooker?
So I'm licensed, both of those are licensed as one,
Okay,
because they have to operate in tandem.
right. You would have a mobile cooker and this last barbecue pit, and then, it does say, it talks about.
That would probably be.
Which one has your 3 sinks?
The red, the one that's not the cooker.
Okay,
So that one's just a cooker, a hand wash sink, the other one is everything else, refrigeration, all the water.
okay.
Yeah, Summit County has, I think theirs is probably the closest thing that's really in-depth. But even our health department's really in-depth.
Right, and that's why I'm going through this, I'm learning a little bit while I familiarize myself. But the problem that they have here is they don't have any, they go into all the structure, but they don't talk about any time limits.
Right.
Because there might be an assumption that it's temporary.
So you have to, the health department law is you have to move them every 40 days. The health department does not say how far, how long they have to be moved for, or give any details.
Right.
Do they have that requirement for where you're at right now?
Every 40 days, it has to be moved. Doesn't say how far, doesn't say where, doesn't say how long it has to be gone. So it gets moved very quickly, every 40-ish days, like a Sunday. Because I want it to be seen, I want it to always be there. So that's the point, that people know where we are.
So you operate out of Summit County?
No, it's Portage County, I'm not Portage County, but you can go anywhere.
But you're familiar with what Summit County is?
Somewhat familiar, I'm not, it should be the same as Portage.
Would I find more information under?
Someone kind of probably has better, easier to find information.
Yeah, they do. We actually have an IT department.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah, I tell you what, my chiropractor, I'm thinking about doing a trade deal with him. He works on my back, I give him a sandwich. I'm serious, man. That's all the guy talks about every time I get
I
down
thought
there.
you were gonna give it a tattoo.
Yeah.
I don't have my permit yet.
Doesn't have its permit yet, Tommy said.
They provide, if you need further clarification on mobile food requirements and need to schedule a pre-operation inspection, I think you might want to give them a call. I can give you the number 330.
Summit County.
Why don't you call him, Tom?
5600. They probably would be a good resource.
Summit County, yeah.
Yeah, a good resource.
In your free time, you can call him.
Well, I can call them.
Just ask for Mr. DeGiorgio.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, even like the city of Green, they have a few that I know of that set up at a business, but they move around. So I don't know, they might have a temporary use permit, but they're pretty regular. Like the food truck idea of business. So
I
don't
think
know.
you're all barking up the wrong tree. You need to define what temporary is.
Yeah.
If you're gonna
Plus-
put that in the code, and then from there, the health department's got this thing covered.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the big concern you have.
The safety part's not the issue.
Yeah, it's
Right.
just what's temporary, what's a permanent structure.
Yeah, well, I think ours is gonna be, is it 365 days a year or not? That's what.
And to tell you the truth, Mike, I would say that 95% of our constituents don't care.
No, you're probably right.
It's the 5%, so we need to figure out how we can best serve everybody's interest without,
You're not
Serving
going to make everybody happy.
serving the 5%. Yeah.
Well, I want to get something on the books that we run with, and, feel confident with.
That's kind of why I was asking about the complaints. Like, I don't like people complaining because I want them to come to my business and spend money. So if they're complaining, they're not the only ones that have that thought.
Well, I would say that they're not, that they haven't eaten there.
Right. So I can't do anything about the cooking on the trailer by the fire station. I can't do anything about that. Were there any valid complaints? I mean, not valid, but more than I don't like it.
The wood
The wood.
was one.
The
What they
piles
say.
of the pile wood
It
and
was
sitting in the
just,
town
You know,
center.
that one, it was, just the stacking of the wood, it's just a pile, it seems like it's more permanent, there's outdoor storage now. That one, just off the top of my head, I don't have my complaint list, I have them at the office.
At the
But-
beginning, and I don't get these anymore, but at the beginning, it was the positioning of the trailer. So I kept referring them to the police department.
Yeah,
And I
they try
do,
to work it right.
do you remember that one?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
probably-
He's turning right on.
Yeah, so I kept sending, and I'm like, well, I'm not the police, you gotta send that. So,
If these people would just come be like, hey, man,
Yeah.
I can see when I turn right out of the road, I'll move the trailer.
yeah.
Yeah, but that's not how people work. I mean, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
I know.
I'm not trying to stir this up, but you have people that, don't like the taxes that they're paying.
Right.
They look at the fire station and they go like, well, heck, we gotta pay all these taxes to build this new fire station. Well, if we're doing that, then why do I look over here and see, I understand that. I have those attitudes, I hate paying taxes.
Right.
So, that's the thing that people are bringing up. I'm not saying everybody does that.
Right.
But I also expect it.
Right. I agree with you, I get those feelings too, but I don't.
Why don't you do a complainers coupon?
Yeah.
I'm serious. complain to 10 of your friends.
Anyone that comes in here complains about it.
Yeah.
Free sandwich.
Complain to 10 of your friends about how my food is, and I'll give you a discount.
Yeah, I think the first thing, the most important thing is to decide on the temporary permits.
Yes.
That seems like basically the
You know,
entire.
whether it's you or anybody else.
Right.
You know, you, when you came before the board, you asked for a temporary permit. And I think every one of us didn't think it was going to be a year before.
At
you
that point,
went.
I've been here for a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know, you've been here for a few
And we
years.
argued about the renewal.
Which is, in most of that, all we've allowed us for, you know, I don't know if it's everybody, but a good many of us felt that, it's gone past the point of being a temporary permit.
But I think, yeah, because I remember we talked about like, what's your intention?
Right,
You know, it's not that everybody can give us the intentions, you don't know what's planned.
right.
But, you know, the plan was, that's like, I want to get in here, established, and then move to the summers and then everything, yeah. So it's, so then it gets brought up again, and that's why I said we're kind of back at that same spot.
Right.
Except just down the road. So.
Okay,
Okay.
need to set a public hearing for the OR zoning district removal, which will be November the 10th at 6:30. The next zoning commission meeting will be November the 10th at 7 PM.
Yes, and then we're gonna need, the PRD removal from OCRR and R1 text amendment changing. I'm gonna need we had the public hearing today, and I'll need a motion to move that on to the trustee level.
Okay, somebody care to make that motion, please? Seth,
I'll motion to send the PRDs to the trustees.
second please,
I'll second. Oh, go ahead, Tom. I'll second it.
whoever.
Tom Johnson.
Okay,
Yeah.
all those in favor of sending this to these to the.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay,
I make a motion to, are we finished? I'll make a motion.
well, I mean, is there anything?
Do you guys want to request, Todd mentioned that he might be able to come to the next meeting. Would you like to request that he is present to speak further on this, or did you want to push that? What do you
I
guys?
think that's a good idea.
Okay, I just figured if we make an official motion that he would put it on his calendar, and that way other people who have meetings at the same time as us, we
We've
would.
got 20
I think
seconds.
Russian,
We might as well come to some meetings, right?
Next meeting to address these issues.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It was direct.
I don't think we needed that motion.
You beat me, Tom.
Who seconded that?
Is there anything else?
I think Tom,
Anything going on in Brimfield?
Yes, there's lots going on. There we go.
yeah, I have a
We're
question.
working on a 40 acre donation parkland. Once it's official, I will announce where that's at.
Yeah.
But
Where?
yeah, it's in the works, but I'll let you know, but it's a 40 acre donation we're working on.
The mattress and, building down there.
Oh, so Blazing Systems purchased it. So I talked to Tom Shaw, I called him because I seen all the work going on and nobody pulled permits, so. And I found out Blazing Systems bought it, and they're renovating everything.
What about the brick building, the old restaurant?
He bought that too,
You got all that?
which is good. Blazing Systems is right behind them. It's a successful business.
Are they gonna expand their business into?
That's not
Or
what
just-
Tom said. Tom said they were gonna lease this out.
Do what?
Doesn't he own RJ's and all those other properties in there as well?
Well, RJ's is on the right, it's not owned.
I don't believe it.
Glazing system. Basic glazing system has all the rentals from the left.
On the
Yeah,
left side.
Yeah.
I think it's the same owner, no, isn't it?
Same people,
Wait a minute,
same family.
they own, RJ's is, I think, still a subcontract with Workman Industries.
We're working on
Because Workman Industries was there.
the site that we had.
They're our neighbors on Oak
Forge and
Forge.
such, yeah.
Yeah, they're,
But I think they still technically did
Yes.
like a build to suit.
We're working on
Have you,
Let me
have
check.
you had any episodes
It's all glazing.
on 43 past,
Yeah.
used to be the roofing place?
Yeah.
The house that's,
Talon's River?
yeah, I think that's what it was at one time, but it's the house that's stone and got junk cars and all that other stuff in there.
That one's a violation. So we sent letters to that. I believe we're on our second notice there. Same owner as before, and that'll be a court appearance.
And then he break the leg.
Been under
Didn't he
court
break his
order
leg?
to clean that up. at one
I don't
time.
know. Somebody said he did, but
Yeah, I remember one time a few years ago.
he had, there's some issues too. He had some personal issues going on.
Yeah.
There was lots of stuff.
But he just moves around the township, he gets thrown out of one building, so.
Well, he built the one building that had to be torn down, right?
And he was over on Morley, a house over on Morley, and he had trucks all parked up and down the street. Got cited by the police for that.
Yeah, well, we do have potential of another bank coming in next to Meyer gas station. We're working on that behind the scenes. We're working on
There's room at the Meyer gas station?
on the other side of the Meyer gas station, there's a 1 acre parcel on the other side of it.
It's a small bank.
Yep. All these is moving along really quick. We have the road going in behind Menards and Myers, and that is for Martin Wheel. So Martin Wheel's gonna move out of Talmadge, build a new building back there off that new road.
What's the place and stuff that we were back there?
Hammer.
Hammer.
Hamrick has got temporary occupancy right
Oh, they
now.
got occupancy,
Yeah, they got a temporary. But they were just waiting on that gas line. So once we started cutting that road in the back, the gas line was allowed to come in. Gas line, they wouldn't put in until they knew for sure that road was coming in. So that held us off. I mean, we were in a panic. We actually expedited the road project, took it out of the hands of the county, hired an attorney that specializes in the private sector doing it for the county, let's say. So that's where we're at. But there's a lot of maneuvering, a lot of legal work to get that road in so that Hamrick.
Have they started cleaning any of that there's another place going in back there, isn't there?
Yes. So
Behind,
Martin Wheel is the next one. That's where a road's going back in there for. And then, the same developer is looking, he purchased across the street one of the properties. He's looking at other large areas of the town of developing as well. So we've got so many developments in the works right now and so many possibilities that.
I'd like to see somebody buy that property on the south side of Talmadge Road, across from Menards and going up the hill. There's about 4 buildings for sale.
There's before you enter Talmadge,
Yeah,
on the left-hand side, those just went up with a new real estate sign, and I gave that because I think they want to sell as a whole now. I mean, not that they're combined lots, but they want to sell as a whole, which is good.
Those are the people that were complaining about the development going in the beginning.
Mhm.
Now they're capitalizing.
Yeah, now they want to capitalize
The
on
one next home is going to.
Yeah.
Money on it.
Is there any, I know they were starting building that, but any businesses that's county.
That's all us. All the business section that you see, all the buildings going in now.
That's just cricket.
Yeah.
Is Pulte?
Pulte is,
Pulte's
so
Talmadge, right?
we moved everything because they were gonna build homes here, businesses, but then it was in our job. So we did a flip and we put the homes over in Talmadge and kept the businesses here because we both benefit. Then Talmadge and Brimfield benefit that way. And I think their schools can handle more of the housing that they.
So is there, that's D-Hop and this, the other one.
Mhm.
Do they have any identities of tenants that are going into the new building yet?
Nothing that we can
Public?
publicly announce, but yeah, I mean, we're working, as you know, Chick-fil-A is always on the radar. I mean, every community's trying to get a Chick-fil-A. That's a big draw. I would say that we had them on the hook on the one property next to to the gas station. Very interesting coming here, but that one was only 1 acre and they need more because they need double stacking lanes.
It's all the ones too small.
No, it would be a nightmare.
It would be like the
Yeah.
Starbucks, but the lines out.
So bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be a nightmare. They're gonna need at least 2. I don't think.
hate you know that side of the plaza.
I see they're putting a pole for the light coming out of the condos there.
Yeah, that sign is wrong. As you're going past, there's a big monument sign that says Brimfield Crossing. That's not the crossing. That's Brimfield Commons. So that was a typo mistake by the sign manufacturer.
Yep.
And I called Dan, I'm like, we already have a Brimfield Crossings on the other side of town, so that's not gonna work. And it was a joke, but they're coming out. They gotta change that whole sign back over. But that's the new shopping, and it's not Maple Crest, that's gonna be Brimfield Commons. And yeah, there's some things coming there, so.
So they paved the road going back to Cascades. Looks really nice.
One day,
Yeah.
Are they ever gonna do anything with that stupid lane to keep people from the left lane driving straight into the right lane?
Yep.
So when you're pulling in, I have brought it up so many stinking times.
Yes, you
Yeah,
have, Tom.
so our road department did that. They did the paving. Dave Griffner did that. But he doesn't lay out the stripe. The striping is done by the county engineer. So the whole layout is as designed by the
So I
county.
should just get can orange.
You could call-
Put dotted lines on it.
You could call the county engineer and then ask him why,
Yeah,
because that
they-
is entirely up to
They
them.
have all those dotted lines.
Yeah.
You know, and all
And
the
people don't-
intersections, like, it's
They
almost
don't pay
like,
attention.
it's almost overwhelming. But it would be serve a purpose there, to get the traffic to go the right way.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
All in favor?
You're already.
Which trailer?